to wake up. The show is about to start. With lots of stories about poo and a bit of heart. When it comes to Joanne, no, you won't find no fault. But if you mess with the bull, you might get the Schulz. It's time for Mornin. It's Morning with Bill and Joe. It's time for Mornin. It's gonna be a heck of a show. It's Bill and Joe. Yeah!
Welcome back to Mornin. Really sad news, Bill. My sound effects don't work anymore.
Oh, thank God. Jonathan, she has sound effects for clapping, booing, which I don't like, and what's the other one? Wah wah.
Yeah, a
you got that.
wah-wah.
She did.
Were
Laughter.
you putting it in during the show or post-production typically?
So during.
No, during.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so normally I would do like a right here, a cheering, we're back. But it doesn't record anymore. I don't know what happened.
Oh, and by the way, we're joined by our Keeping It Real Estate correspondent,
Yes.
Jonathan Schulz.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with two cats in the yard.
Baby.
Life used to be so hard. Now we're keeping it real estate with Jonathan Schulz.
Baby.
Baby.
Stars. You've
Yeah.
seen him on Wall Street Journal. You've seen him in New York Times. He's up there, guys.
He's a part of the Miller
He's a big
Schultz
deal.
team.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So how are things? How's the market?
The market is okay. It's much better than it was last year. Transactions are happening, which is a good thing. Prices are kind of stagnant, but that's fine. You know, typically we don't care where prices are. We just care that transactions happen. So we've had an okay year so far. I just hope it continues.
Great. I love that for everyone who can afford a home.
Exactly.
Joe and I have had less transactions. We're hoping for a better year. We'll
Me
wait
too.
for next month.
And
Yeah.
I hope that for you as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank
I wasn't
you.
fishing.
Yeah. So while I wasn't buying a house this week, I did watch a movie for the first time, and it's called Point Break.
Now, what makes you do this? Because Bill is telling you have to watch it, or is this just
No.
something, hey, let's put this on?
No, it's my husband. My husband is responsible pretty much for all of the things Bill likes.
Well, see,
And I refuse to be a part of. And then my husband is like, you should actually watch this and tell Bill you watched it.
may I add to this in the sense that Douglas likes everything I like. And I feel like we're
Honest.
kindred spirits, and yet she hates me, but she's married to this dude that likes the same things I like. I'll never understand it.
You both have a really nice head of hair, so that's good too.
Douglas has a great head of hair.
Does.
So all right. We haven't discussed before. I'm ready to be angry. Thoughts?
So for anyone who has known us over the years, you know I love Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
Almost as much as John Travolta, but not quite as much. He is beautiful to look at. He's a great actor. And wow, him surfing with that head of hair is impressive, because I would assume he would be so top heavy that he would have just fallen off the surfboard.
That's valid.
However, incredible. He's in such good shape. He has some really lovely acting moments, which there's not many. Okay. It's as soon as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is like a B movie that has since gained popularity. I don't know how popular it was when it came out, but
It was when it came out. It has gotten even more popular after the fact.
yeah.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves is an
Amazing.
okay actor, but an awful FBI agent. That's not
That's valid. Yeah.
it's not his fault. It's the writing's fault. Waking up too late, or almost too late, for a raid they're doing on a house. Turns out a guy in the house was undercover, blew up his spot. He gets himself kidnapped. he is then forced to rob this bank, doesn't even have a plan to thwart that.
He's undercover.
He gets his partner killed. Okay.
Gary Busey,
Then
R.I.P.
finally at the end, when he gets to capture Patrick Swayze, he gets the handcuffs on him. That part was cool when they're fighting and he, oh, look, we're both handcuffed. He lets him go to do that last search.
Yes!
Which we know will just kill him. But no, he should be prosecuted for all of those crimes. This is the way he wants to die. You're going to give him what he wants?
Yes!
I didn't love that.
That's poetic.
You know what? They also became kind of friends. And they respected each other in a weird way. I'm sure Bill has a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I think I understand what you're saying. There's a B movie feel to it, and I know where it comes from.
Okay.
Lori Petty. It's always Lori Petty. She makes every movie she's in just slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Look at A League of Their Own. She just has this over-the-top acting and this just kind of soap opera feel to her that I think that she's the
well, and also
this is why we're related.
Jonathan,
you're not wrong.
What did you think about that casting? Because when I first saw her cast as the love interest, I didn't grow up with these films clearly. So I'm like, she was in Orange is the New Black and plays that crazy lady with the gray hair. So she doesn't seem like the quintessential surfer, blonde hair, tanned, long hair. But
I think that's what they were going for because this was Bodhi's girlfriend, and so she was tough. She was rough and tumble. She can hang with the dudes and she can hang with the surfers. And, I will say that when I was of that age when it came out, she scratched an itch, so to speak.
I'm very upset that there was no nude scene. I think there was nudity in it, but it was not with Lori Petty, and I was very upset about that.
No, I think wasn't there during the night surfing? Weren't we? No.
Sadly, I would know if there was. I think Joe might be right. There might have been a butt scene.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
Oh yeah, when she was getting dressed at some point in the morning time. Yes, I remember that.
I wasn't against her in that, although I have to tell you this, to your point, I'm one of the 5 people in America that saw Tank Girl. Which was about 3 years after Point Break and kind of killed her career. Yeah, she was Tank Girl. But
wait, what's it about? A tanker?
A girl that has a tank, and it's in this dystopian future, something a movie's never done. And I guess it's based on a comic book, but
that would make sense.
Yeah, she's very punk, and
I thought about bringing up Tank Girl, but I've never seen it. I didn't really think anyone had.
I've seen it. Yeah. And again, no nudity. So
well,
for that reason alone,
that's just unrealistic because if you have a tank, you gotta be there topless.
Well, she does in A League of Their Own, the director's cut.
I wish that were true. I think she totally bought that. Absolutely bought that.
Because I hadn't seen the director's cut. Who's to know?
There's no crying in baseball, but there is nudity.
Oh, that would have been so good. But it is just when also remember James Cameron's ex-wife directed. I think that was the first time.
And that's how she goes by in Hollywood because she hasn't made it.
I don't remember her name.
Catherine Bigelow.
She did the Hurt Locker, all that stuff. But that was like the first time a big budget action movie was directed by a woman. And again, I don't remember her name.
Catherine Bigelow.
Well done.
Thank you, Jonathan. You're doing the work.
Well done. And by the way, I will say this to the 2 people, mostly my family that are listening. There was no research before this. Like I texted Jonathan right before we did this. Joe just saw Point Break. We're talking about it. So this is off the top of his head.
Well,
it's impressive.
To be fair, you can't really say no research for stuff.
Well, yeah. We've watched it live.
Okay. I will give the film credit. A really cool scene.
There's so many of them.
Scenes. Plural
but
form.
most memorable is when he jumps out of that plane without a parachute.
Yeah. Oh,
course.
amazing. Yes.
Well, what's interesting about that is apparently Mythbusters in 2003 did one to see if that actually would work. And one of the things they tested was the time. So I think they're talking, the whole scene is about 90 seconds, and that's far too long. But they did realize that if you do put yourself in that aerodynamic body shape, he could have caught up to Bodhi in that.
That's amazing. Ugh.
But they couldn't have held a conversation in midair doing that. That was another one of the myths that they busted.
Yeah. Drop your gun. No, you pull the gun.
Well, you only had one hand. I mean, the other one was there. Like, come
He could
on.
have used
It's
two
math.
legs. I don't
By
know.
the way,
And I had a problem.
you know, we always talk about the skydiving scenes and the surfing scenes, but that chase scene is unbelievable.
Unreal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and to Catherine Bigelow, now I remember her name. Thank you. I've never seen anything like that. When he is finally realizing that Patrick Swayze is Ronald Reagan, when he's following him, and that it's almost like before GoPro was a thing. It was sort of that. Remember there's dogs and all that, and like going in the alley. I'd never seen anything like that. It was awesome.
Through the houses.
Yes.
And
Oh, it was so great.
When they were in a fight with the other fellow surfers, I think one was Anthony Kiedis.
Yes, sir.
Patrick Swayze says that Johnny Utah fought like a pit bull, and then later in the movie he throws a pit bull at him. So that's another interesting fact.
I hate the
that I
fact that
found.
they put both of those.
Wow, you guys both really like this movie.
Well,
I
also
mean,
remember,
this says I didn't do any homework, but you guys gave me about 10 minutes, and that's enough time to do homework.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, it's so good. It's
The
a
members of
perfect-
the ex-presidents are killed in chronological order also.
I did not know that. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I
hate my.
that's what I read.
I will send you a link of something I might have done on Red Eye with regards to Point Break.
I
That's
don't want
amazing.
it.
Well, I'm going to send it to you.
I thought we weren't supposed to say that name.
We celebrate our past.
Sure.
At the end of Red Dawn, have you seen Red Dawn? Joe?
I have told her to watch it.
Is
She
this
has
the
not.
movie where the kids are in a classroom or a school and like
Yep.
everything?
I showed you the clip.
Patrick
Yes.
Swayze.
Yeah.
So at the end of Red Dawn, also starring Patrick Swayze, the Russian colonel tells Swayze "Vaya con Dios," and then in Point Break, that is the last thing I think he says to Johnny. It's one of the things he says. He says "Vaya con Dios."
I did. Oh, wow. And I just saw Red Dawn recently, and I didn't put two. Wow.
Why would you? By the way, who puts that together? I mean, I looked it up. I found it, but it's not like I'm like, well, I found this.
Well, one thing I do know, because I did like Guy and Sacred Cow about that podcast about Red Dawn, and of course I love it, so I was defending it. But Jennifer Grey hated Patrick Swayze in that movie and was not like happy she got cast in Dirty Dancing, but was not too pleased to be working with him again. Apparently, they hate each other in Red Dawn. They kind of hate each other in Dirty Dancing as well.
So was he not a joy with which to work?
John Leguizamo said as much as far as Tu Wan Fu. Thanks for them. You know what I'm talking about?
Thanks for everything, Julian.
Yeah,
Sure. Go ahead.
John Leguizamo said he had some issues, but
I wonder, is he a perfectionist type of
you
thing?
should not speak bad of the dead. And again, she has a crush on him because he's such a pretty boy.
And
No,
he's
he's beautiful.
dead.
Yeah.
Washboard abs.
Oh, amazing. Great bud.
Oh boy. So yeah, I'll put those other films, I guess, on my list.
And my
I wouldn't.
break,
I wouldn't.
Man on the Street that I did on Red Eye, I will send you that. It's a two-parter.
Great. Can't wait.
I hate you. We actually might as well do some real estate stuff.
Pee Wee Herman one I love. I love stuff like that.
Okay, we have the IG video of it.
The
that
Instagram,
we will do.
I'll insert it here.
Pee Wee Herman's longtime Los Angeles residence is on the market currently for the first time in almost 40 years. Paul Reubens, best known for playing Pee Wee Herman, bought the three-bedroom property for just over $400,000 in 1985 with his paycheck from the movie Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. The house is currently listed right now for $4,995,000. Located in the Oaks neighborhood of Los Feliz, this 3-bed, 2.5-bath, nearly 3,000 square foot single-family home sits on 1.4 acres of land overlooking the city. The home is a classic mid-century ranch with views from almost every room. The home has been virtually untouched since it was built in 1957 and is a trophy property in the making. The home has 360-degree views of the city, including Griffith Park and the Hollywood sign. Properties like this rarely become available and won't last long.
Give us your thoughts.
I mean, it's everything I like about Los Angeles real estate. It's a time capsule. He bought it, as they said in the clip, with his money after Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I think Paul Reubens is one of those guys who liked it as a time capsule as well and kept it that way, clearly. And I'm a big fan of buying homes like this or getting homes like that, and rather than renovating, restoring. And I'm sure that he did a little work, but he didn't change the aesthetic of the 60s mid-century modern, and it's amazing. I wish it's clearly been staged, because I think if you've seen enough Paul Reubens interviews over the time on late night shows and everything, I think he loves tchotchkes, and I would imagine that home was just absolutely filled with just the most ridiculous tchotchkes. And I'm surprised, and I'm sure there is, we could do some more homework on it, that there hasn't been some sort of auction, because I'm sure he has thousands of different things throughout that house.
Well, and by the way, that raises a great question, and I know you're going to attack me on this. When you have a client that's got a lot of ephemera in their place, like, what's the delicate way to tell them you got to get rid of all this? And again, my place action figures. I know
that's what you just say. You got to. This is the way homes are sold, and people don't want to see your tchotchkes. People don't want to see tchotchkes in general.
Yeah.
You need to clear it off, and you need to have it very, very neutral, because people want to see themselves in there, not someone else. So it can't be too taste specific. Obviously a home like that is very taste specific, but in terms of the stuff, it's got to be just neutral, and so people can see themselves living there.
Sort of to that point, Jonathan, I'm always so shocked when I go on sites like Street Easy or whatever, and I'm browsing. I'm just looking at what apartments might be available, whatever. And the pictures that some people choose to put up, it's not even stuff. It's like a messy bedroom.
It's incredible. Usually you'll see that with just rentals, but you will see it with sales as well. What I don't understand is, and I think a lot of times, Joe, it's where the real estate agent is taking a photo of their client's home, but the client doesn't live there. A tenant lives there, and the tenant doesn't care at all about cleaning up. Sure. And you get in there and you're like, I can't clean up this person I don't know's place, so you try to do the best you can.
Gotcha.
But sometimes that's not the case at all, and you just have a really cheap bad agent who's just taking the photos. Look, professional photos are really expensive, but you have to do them. What I don't understand is when the people who own the place see the photos and they're like, I'm paying this person X amount of dollars to represent me, and these are the photos that they're choosing to put out to. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
But yes, I've had to make beds, for tenants who live there. I've had to clean up other people's underwear and stuff like that many, many times. I remember there were syringes one time I had to clean up. Now, granted, the person was pregnant and they had, diabetes.
Still could be into heroin.
Less exciting.
This person wasn't, but it still was weird cleaning up syringes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that shouldn't be your job. Good Lord.
It's my job to sell the home. So if I need to, if we are there taking photos and there's things that need to be cleaned up or moved around, we've got to do it. And we do it a lot.
Something I was mentioning to Bill when he was in Palm Springs, and he was talking a bit about the homes there that celebrities resided in, and how they almost some of them actually do become museums. And I was commenting on how in our country, it seems like we value architecture when it has a historical tie to a celebrity more than architecture that is just historically significant. We'll often keep those things as the time capsule, But especially in New York
So, like, good
City,
point.
unless it's, a part of the historical society or it's, branded as such, we just knock stuff down. So do you think that, I don't know what my question is. Is that, I feel like it's a shame. Do you think that's a shame?
It's a shame. Unfortunately, we live in a society where there's so much equity that comes with being a celebrity. And so then in that type, we always used to say sex sells, but really celebrity sells in all forms of ways, whether it's, the Kardashians selling clothes and things like that, or makeup. I mean, they don't have any background in any of that stuff, but they're selling it and they're hugely successful. So all that stuff, if it has a story, if you can commoditize it, you're going to try to use it the best you can. Now, look, if there's a really old home that has architectural significance, it's absolutely something that we will use and try to get press. But I would say it's probably more difficult to get press than if it were a celebrity's home.
I can't believe I've never asked you this. Have you ever had to sell a place that has landmark status in New York?
Most of the buildings, in certain neighborhoods have landmark status, but not the inside of the apartment.
Because I always thought that you couldn't manipulate anything without going through like a board in the city or something, even inside.
You can't do anything to any apartment without speaking to some sort of board.
Right.
They want to make sure that the contractors are insured, what have you. But for the most part, most renovations are allowed. They want to make sure that you're not taking one bathroom and putting it where the bathroom is and putting it where a living room was, that type of thing. But you can renovate apartments because they have to over time. Things get old and rotten, and you have to, when you replace a kitchen or a bathroom, you have to replace the pipes all the way down to the main line because things corrode over time, and that's the opportunity to do it. So no, most interiors are not landmarked. I'm sure you can find somewhere that you will find an interior that's landmarked somehow, but it's usually the exterior of the building.
I was just watching the OJ documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's new, but it was new to me. It's like the 5-part one that's out.
He was framed.
So I hear. And he had to get rid of his, I guess, Brentwood home, or he was kicked out of it, I think because of the civil case and all the money he owed. But then they showed a clip of them just knocking the whole thing down.
Right.
Them just with bulldozers and stuff clearing the property. Why is that? Do you know?
Because of stigma.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, wasn't she killed in the property?
Yes, on the driveway.
Yeah.
But we
still haven't found the killer.
Wouldn't some weirdos be into that? I don't know.
Keep in mind, most of those weirdos who are into that can't afford a home in Brentwood.
That's a fair point.
That's a great point. Well, and by the way, you didn't mention this is one of the ones you were intrigued with, but it's very topical. And I know you must have dealt with clients that are in the middle of a divorce. So we will mention it. Briefly, there have been rumors for a while that Jennifer Lopez-Ben Affleck marriage is not doing well. TMZ reports that the divorce is imminent.
Jonathan is shocked.
What?
By the way, he has a very Affleck head. Focus on that.
Very. It's very big.
So they're now attempting to sell their Beverly Hills mansion that they purchased together last year. After a nearly 2-year search, they're likely to lose millions on the sale. Affleck has already moved out of the marital home and into a nearby rental. And JLo just canceled her summer tour. She's looking to get her own place. So this is all within 2 years. This place, they're already going to lose a huge amount of money, especially the way real estate laws work, or I guess interest rates in LA is concerned. But I'm sure you have thoughts on this, but also have you dealt with, we got to get rid of this property real quick because we are having a very bad divorce in A, B, and C. I'm sure this has happened with you.
I mean, but ultimately it's the same as selling any place. I mean, what happens behind their closed doors isn't really affecting the sale, other than if they need to sell something really quickly, and then you just need to really, really adjust the price to make sure it's attractive to people. But then you have the couples who don't want to adjust the price because they're splitting the assets, so they want to make sure they get as much money as possible. But I don't think I don't think Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are too concerned about the assets. Although, hopefully, everything they bought was in one person's name. It makes things so much easier.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If you've dealt with people before, let's say it's a married couple, and they have tons of money, so it's like one just does the house.
Sure, yes, that happens, but it doesn't affect what I do, really.
Okay.
It's all done after the fact, and like where do the assets go? Ultimately, we're the ones who just are selling it, and so they deal with who is owed what, and that is usually handled way before the home goes on the market.
But now, maybe I'm wrong, but
you are.
It doesn't seem that either of them are really hard pressed for cash. So even if they're separating or getting divorced, what might the urgency be with selling the home, knowing that they've only had it for so long? Why don't they just like hold on to that property?
Because then they're commingling their lives still. I would imagine once they want to get divorced, something happened, they want to split everything. They don't want to have to deal with each other. If they're co-owning a home, it's a business, you've got to talk, you've got to communicate. They don't have any kids together, so they're not going to have to worry about that. So the fact, that's my only assumption. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but you want to split everything up as quickly as possible.
Have you ever had to deal with a property where the divorced couple, the husband's telling you one thing and the ex-wife is telling you quite something else, and that being...
Yeah, do you become a therapist?
Yeah.
We are therapists quite a bit, not often in divorces. I think of maybe 1, 2, or 3 divorces I've dealt with in the past. And there's sometimes, the most you're really going to deal is with offers and things like that. We're not getting into the nitty gritty, or maybe someone's going to be in the home and the other person's not, and things like that. And you have to figure out showing times and stuff like that. And hey, you talk to her. I don't know what her schedule is and things like that. But it doesn't get too sticky in the real estate sense on our part. I know you wish it would.
Well, no, what I wish was JLo and Ben could figure it out, because they were America's couple.
It made me sad when I read that they might be splitting up.
Okay, so this is his, second marriage, right?
Yes.
Jennifer Gardner.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is her 5th or 6th?
I think it's her 5th.
5th?
I mean, my wife and I always joke is that when people, like, you're watching E! Or you're watching Entertainment Weekly, and they're like, and the shocking divorce of so-and-so Hollywood couple. I'm like, no. We can never, ever, ever be shocked when a Hollywood couple gets divorced. Ever. Ever.
It was pretty quick.
I think I always say, like, the safest marriage there is Ann Mara and Jerry Stiller, and they're dead. Other than those two, I will not be shocked about anyone getting divorced. Not one.
Oh, yeah.
You can't be. Maybe Kevin Bacon and Keira Sedgwick, and I think they're just super weird.
I honestly, not even kidding, if that actually were to ever happen, I would have some feelings. Like, they are the only possibly one great couple in Hollywood.
Yeah. For a long time, I think we thought Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon, but I think that was a marriage. I think we came to find
Dax Shepard and what's her name?
No, I wouldn't be.
Kristen Bell. Like they want that mantle, but it's just Kevin Bacon.
No, and you know why? Because of his past drug abuse type stuff. Like, you can fall off a wagon anytime, and someone can just have enough. So no, you're not allowed to be shocked if they get divorced.
No, you're right.
No, you're not.
They still want that cute, we're going to last forever couple mantle that they will not get.
But they've also, it's sort of to Jonathan's point, they've overshared a little bit.
Totally.
About their relationship. So we wouldn't be shocked. We would be like, they've had to deal with stuff.
The couples that always have to, like, PDA and show and touch and share, there's always a little something weird. Maybe
Joe and I talk about this all the time, yes.
Maybe Jerry Stiller and Ann Mara, maybe Ben and his wife will be the next couple that we see together forever. They've been together for a long time.
Yes.
But yeah, there are very, very, very few.
I would be very upset if Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn separated, but
they are not married.
They're not married.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yep.
I would just be sad.
I always heard. I remember hearing once that it was a lot of times you'll notice it's the New York City couples that stay together longer than the Hollywood couples, and I can see that. I mean, you have Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick. For a while, you had Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins, but I think Ben Stiller lives for the most part in New York City.
That's interesting. I wonder if it's like close confines, like you're stuck with each other more than you would be in an LA property where there's lots of rooms to hide. Like you got to deal with each other.
Well, I think you also you live a little bit more of a normal life.
I think I think it's the mentality of the two actors who choose to live in New York City as opposed to Los Angeles, where the lights and the cameras are on them, and they're a little more reserved, not being there.
Definitely.
Thank you as always. This is
a pleasure, guys.
Delightful.
But I like that you guys decide to wear the same color shirts.
I called her beforehand.
It was not a choice. It was not a choice. I should have changed.
It's a lifestyle choice, and we choose to dress like.
I look a little more earthy with my jacket too, so I think that we're all
actually like that sport coat. Oh, and I gave Joe the photo, and I'll just briefly mention it. Your overall thoughts, being a godfather, with regards to Michael. I'm happy about Helen because I didn't have to worry about her pooping on herself.
Yep.
What were your thoughts?
I mean, ultimately, I love being a godfather. Now, this is my second time, and Bill and Alfred, Joanne, have nephews and nieces. Michael and Helen are my first two blood nieces and nephews. Yes. But I am a godfather to another, and I've decided I'm only going to be godfathers to boys named Michael. That's all it is.
It's a weird goal, but
Michael Cooper and Michael William Schulz are both my godsons.
Very cute. And yeah, I was definitely telling Joe that Michael is a prodigious pooper, and I was very worried about the entire thing because especially he was wearing all white, and I was worried about that. But yeah, no, it worked out good.
You sound like a man who's soiled white pants before.
100%. He's related to me.
Yeah. It is interesting that two Michaels, and that is definitely not a dying name, but not a name that you see very often anymore.
No, I think Michael's like Bill or John.
Yeah, but
you don't see Bill or John anymore.
Exactly.
By the way, you don't see those names anymore.
Disciples, you don't
it's
see
Grayson and Jackson, and it's all those names that we never heard as kids that are huge now. There are no Jennifers.
Well, and to that end, when he named Henry, it was a very cool, still obscure name, but immediately when Henry was born, it was like the top 5 new name.
In my Henry's high school, he's a freshman, there's another Henry Schulz.
Get
and
out
that can get very confusing. Well,
you got to make sure, too, for those SAT scores, they don't accidentally switch them up.
Or maybe we hope that they do.
Oh, hey.
He is a Schulz.
Oh.
Well, I haven't sent you this yet, but maybe we'll end on it. But I have a very cute photo of you in a chair with Michael and a little bottle. But well done. Let's compare notes on exactly what Godfathers are supposed to do.
Well,
but
I thought it was interesting. The very same day, I became a godmother.
She did.
Well, congrats.
To my nephew, Nolan.
Huge.
Nolan Timothy.
Ah, very nice.
Giant Schultz head, by the way.
Well, he's just.
I don't know if you can call it a Schultz head, but
no.
Okay.
If it's huge, it's a Schultz head.
He is 7 months old, but in 12-month plus clothing. And so, me I don't know if I'm going to share a photo, but me holding him, I'm awkward holding a baby anyway, but this is like a heavy child who is now getting strong and wiggles. And I'm just trying not to have a repeat of when I went to the ASPCA and a dog jumped out of my arms.
Right.
Well, all right. So we won't show your nephew. What we'll do is we'll show you with a picture of one of the dogs that you were choking, trying to figure out how a normal human being holds a puppy, which she was trying to do. And she doesn't know how to do that because she's a sociopath. We'll use that instead of your nephew as the picture.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I remember when we got Henry baptized, and he was a huge baby, and we had done it later too, so he maybe 8 or 9 months. And I remember holding him during the service, and like my arm got to the point of exhaustion, because he was so heavy.
Yes.
Just this.
Oh, I remember too.
Yeah.
I'm a godfather times 2. I'm Henry's godfather. By the way, if you lose the Walter Payton card, Oof, oof.
That was your gift to a baby?
No, I felt like I needed to give Henry something because I was initially his godfather, and then I became Helen's. I'm like, well, I'm going to give him something really awesome. So I gave him my oldest Walter Payton football card. She doesn't care. But one last thing I'll leave you with, and I don't want to end on a bummer, and this is rough. We can edit out if it's too much of a dark subject. I recently found out that you have yet to show Henry and Teddy Fletch by way of you making fun of Henry's hair, 6'2" with the afro. And then I asked him, like, guys, what'd you think of Fletch? And you're a bad dad. You're a bad dad.
I realized something recently, not by recently, as an adult, the music to Fletch is so early 80s, and it gets a little in my head. It's the now you're gonna have to watch it, Joe, and get back to it.
It's great. Yeah. A lot of people want to get into journalism because of Woodward and Bernstein. I did it because of Fletch. But yeah, it's that there's a little Beverly Hills Cop synthesizer-y kind of thing. Totally. Yeah. But it's great. I can't believe you haven't shown that to him yet.
Okay.
You're a horrible dad.
Oh.
He's a bad dad. I mean, just let it wash over you.
Now, Joe, you'll have to watch it. I'll show it to the kids, and we'll come back and talk about it.
It's a great movie.
Great.
All right. Well, give us your plugs, your promotions.
Don't have any. Just you can always check us out on Corcoran's website, the Miller Schulz Team. You can look us up on our Instagram, the Miller Schulz Team, and come by property in New York City.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Godfather.
Of course. And now for the best part of the show. All right. So between Point Break and the OJ doc, I needed something a little satiating for my palate. So last night I rewatched Crazy Rich Asians. It's so good.
I've never seen it.
What?
No.
You should watch it. And then
the Schulz household,
we
would watch The Last Emperor. And so that was kind of our Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, all right.
A lot of weird scenes in that one.
It's the opium that gets everybody, and the wet nurse until you're 9 years old.
Okay. Well, definitely gonna watch that.
All right, it's a great movie.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye.